Hi and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a coffee soap, and you might be wondering what this mysterious brown mixture is here. This is actually my lye solution, and instead of using just water, I've replaced that out with a really strong espresso coffee. And it's a fair trade coffee, and I have made a really strong brew and then just mixed my sodium hydroxide into that. It was frozen beforehand, so it was nice and slushy, because there's a tendency for well, it does get very hot when you mix in your sodium hydroxide to your liquid, because it produces an exothermic reaction, so it gets really hot. And to combat that, obviously we want to start with a cool liquid. So ordinarily I would use refrigerated distilled water, which I have set aside just for soap making, but this time I thought, no, let's go for a full coffee experience. I love coffee. I can't start my day without it. I've got some fairly complicated ideas in mind for how I want this to look, so fingers crossed it will actually end up the way that I see it in my mind. And the fragrance I'll be using today is fresh coffee from Eroma. Getting a coffee scent in a soap is actually quite tricky, so that's partly what inspired me to start off with an espresso coffee, just to get as much of that coffee scent as possible, because while you can smell coffee out of the bottle in this fragrance oil, once it's been in soap for a little while, the more chocolatey notes come through a lot of the time. I haven't come across a coffee fragrance that is really completely, you know, coffee scent through and through. So enough chit chat. What I'm going to do now is mix my lye water solution, my coffee lye water solution, into my melted oils that I have here, and get that all blended up. It's already looking to be a really lovely colour. Okay, I'm going to get my stick blender now. Geez, it's not my day in terms of bubbles. That's the most bubbles that I've had in a batch of soap I can really recall. Now, the fragrance oil that I'll be using, I do suspect that is going to discolor quite a lot. So what I want to do is just add in a little bit of titanium dioxide. This is an oil-soluble titanium dioxide, which I have already pre-mixed up with oil. And I like to use these little salad containers. These are ones that I've reserved just for soap making, because I don't like to throw anything away. I much prefer to have you know, non-disposables as much as I possibly can and just reuse. So I like these little salad dressing thingamajigs. So I'm going to add just a little bit in here, just to sort of counteract the discoloration that I think we'll see from this fragrance oil, and just make it a little bit more creamy, not quite such a, you know, dark brown you know, coffee color, because that won't entirely go with the top that I've got planned. So just a little bit, because I am going to section off some of this batter and actually reserve that for the top, and then that will have the majority of the titanium dioxide added to it. I just wanted to hand mix that in, not actually get the blender into it, because I don't want it to thicken up too much. So I think that'll be enough just to you know, balance it out nicely. I'm going to take this over to my scale and pour off about 650 grams of the batter. I did less in the end. I didn't think I needed quite that much when I saw it. There. So, okay, now that we have got that done, I've also got some mica that I prepared earlier. And this is Lustrous Brown from Nature's Garden. No, sorry, Nurture Soap. Nurture Soap. And the reason I put this in is it's a really fantastic mica. There is a lot of pigment in there, which I hope the camera can actually pick up. Yeah, there's a lot of pigment in there, and it's got a nice sort of goldy shimmer to it that actually remains throughout the soap after you have after it's you know, set up and it's cured. And I think that would look really nice. So we're just changing it to the color brown that we really want. We're, you know, dulling it down a little bit with the titanium dioxide, making it look a little bit more creamy. And then, yeah, fingers crossed that'll be the shade that I'm actually looking for, that I see in my head. All right, so that's good now. So I'm going to add in the appropriate amount of fragrance oil into this portion of the mix. Fingers crossed I don't see any immediate acceleration or rising or anything. That's one thing that I find quite challenging about the Eroma fragrances is, even though many of them, and obviously I only buy the ones that are body safe, that are good for use in soap, they don't have anyone in-house that actually checks the fragrances to see how they perform, and I find that a bit difficult to cope with because you can buy a fragrance and you've got no idea how it's actually going to play out, and that really annoys me. Whereas there's a lot of companies overseas especially that test all of their fragrances thoroughly, so you've got a really good idea of what to expect. And of course every soap recipe is different, so generally it's not going to perform the same in exactly every batch, but at least you've got an idea of what to expect, especially in terms of discoloration. That's my biggest bugbear. I'm going to put that to the side for a moment, and I'm going to get my white portion the right color. So this is going to have most of the rest of that titanium dioxide mixed through. I don't want to go crazy because I don't really feel like getting glycerin rivers, but let's see. More. Beautiful. Okay, I'm happy with that. I was never going to get proper actual white, of course, because I've got the espresso coffee in there, but that is a really nice creamy color. I'm happy with that. So the purpose of this particular portion of the batter is twofold. So I'm going to be using it to, sorry, I'll just clean up my area here. I've gotten a bit messy. One other thing I'm really fussy about is I try not to use too many paper towels, mainly because, I mean, it's one thing to use paper towels if they're, you know, forestry certified and they're cutting down plantation forests, right? But what lives in the plantation forests? You've got animals, of course, that move in, and it's not as if they're given an eviction notice before the loggers come in and just clear cut the entire area. So I don't think that the FSC paper is actually particularly ethical in many ways. So I like to use recycled paper. And it's honestly not that fantastic, of course. So that's where I've got special cloths that I use that are dedicated just for soap making. And then I was also given a whole bunch of these really bright, crazy linen tea towels. And so I use them as well as much as I can. And that's how I avoid using too much paper towel. Little tip. Okay, where was I? Yes. So the purpose of this mixture is twofold. I'm going to be using it for a drop swirl, and also reserving enough for the top so that I can actually get it really thick, and then spoon it and make it all fluffy on top, so it looks like foam on top of a coffee. And then I'm going to put some coffee beans on top as well. So that is the thought process there. Oops, better not forget my fragrance oil. Yeah, this one's thickening up nicely. Titanium dioxide always does that. Huzzah! Okay, I'm gonna get my mold. Drop swirl. Really simple. Basically, you pour in a colour, one part of your mix. There you go, got about half there. Nice one. And then from a height, you want to pour your next colour. And so that will get mixed around within the base of your soap and look absolutely fabulous. Ooh, right to the tippy top. Boy, yep, that's as much as I can fit in. Okay, I'm going to scrape out my container. And this is really important as well, especially, well, for a number of reasons. Here we go. Aaliyah's got another fact for you. So not only is it important in terms of you don't want to be wasting any of your product because all these ingredients cost money, it all creates soap. Why on earth would you want to have any rinse down the drain? Because, you know, it's lovely soap. But more to the point, if you don't scrape out your containers well enough, you might be overusing paper towel, trying to wipe them out before you wash them. Or even worse, they could be getting washed down the drain. And there's a real issue with fatbergs in drains, in sewerage systems all over the world. There's a couple of famous ones that have been unearthed and, you know, they weigh tons. Like, it's just absolutely revolting. So it's really important that we try and keep oils out of the, you know, drainage sewerage system as much as we possibly can, because we don't want to be contributing to those problems. Boy, any more and I would have overflowed. Oh, that is right to the tippy top. Thankfully for us, can I get it in the shot? Here we go. My top mixture is still really, really workable. So I'm not concerned about this just yet, because we are going to have to leave this base for a little while in order for it to set up enough so that I can put the top on, because what I'm concerned about is we'll have a flood. I have returned, and as you can see, we passed the jiggle test. It's not moving around, it's not fluid anymore. It's definitely strong enough on top and set up enough that I'll be able to put my topping on without spilling it everywhere. So I've got my trusty spoon, and as you can see, my topping has set up quite a lot. It's really, really nice and scoopable now, so this is perfect. Okay, so I'm not going to overthink it too much. I think it will look really nice if we just start doing some mounding on top, and then I'm just going to push it around with my spoon and yeah, make it look like foamy sort of whipped lusciousness. It'll be really interesting to see how the colours hold up, because yeah, this is going to be maybe a little bit darker than I had in mind, but that is okay because it's a coffee soap. Oh, it's going over the edge now. The weight of this may have been too much. It's okay, stainless steel bench. We will endure. Yeah, it's going to be some collapsing. That's going to happen. All right. Circly waves. That's better. Okay, you need some more bulk to this side, friends. Yes. Yes. Oh, it's going to be such a luscious soap. That'll be nice. Okay, I am going to scrape out a bit more of my container. Keep on adding to these areas that are looking a bit low. I'm just going to wipe down the sides of the mold. In this little container here, I have got some fair trade coffee beans. These are what we normally use at home. I haven't gone out and bought anything special. This is just what we already drink. So, I can get to enjoy a bit of my day. So, I think because this soap is all about loving coffee, I am going to put on 3 beans for each piece so that everyone's guaranteed 3 beans. And then I'm going to sort of haphazardly add some more beans in. So everyone gets a minimum, maybe some people will get a little bit more. It just depends. I'm trying to eyeball this as much as I can to get it nice and straight. Oh, you bloody. Am I going to be able to get that? Oh, yeah. There we go. I've always thought to myself I should have a pair of tweezers reserved just for soap making, so that if I mess up with any of my, you know, additives or embeds or whatever, at least I can retrieve them, or I can place them a little bit better. But you know what? I never, ever, think to buy them. Slippery suckers. They're so smooth. Whoever ends up with this piece will know that it was the one that I was raging at on camera. No, you're on the line. Oh, I just managed to push it down further. See, I do need tweezers. It's going to become soap accessory of 2019, and I'm going to keep a really close eye on this soap because I've just got this sort of feeling that it's going to heat up quite a lot, and I'm going to have to pop it into the fridge so it doesn't get too molten hot. That's the trouble with acrylic molds, is they're amazing. They're so long lasting, but they do retain the heat a lot more than wood does. Okay, so I think we are done. I'm going to leave it there, and then I'll come back and film the cut for you tomorrow. Fingers crossed it'll look as good as it smells. And we're back the next day. As cool as I tried to keep this soap, it did begin to go through a pretty super intense gel phase, even though I had put it under the fan and it was in a cool room. So the fragrance oil definitely does heat up quite a bit. And by the time I noticed that, it was gelled almost all the way through, except for around the very edges. So what I decided to do was actually insulate it last night, so that hopefully we could get that heat going all the way to the very edges of the soap, so that we had a consistent color all the way through. So let's open it up and have a look and see how we went. Oh, smells amazing, looks amazing. Unmolding this is always a little bit tricky. Let's have a look. I'll take off my straps first. Whee! Okay, and this is biodegradable cling film, so that's not plastic as such. That will break down. Okay. Oh, look at that. Yeah, it has, whoops, lost a bean. It has gone pretty well to the edges, and it's a lovely creamy honey color, probably a bit lighter than I really imagined. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes over time, because I think once I've cut it and it's exposed to the air, it will actually darken up significantly. Beautiful. It's a really beautiful bar of soap. And when you look at it on the side, I hope the camera can actually pick it up, but this is the gel phase I was telling you about. So sometimes soap batches, for whatever reason, usually because of the fragrance oil, get super, super hot just in like a core part of the soap. So in this instance, it has gotten really hot and it's extended all the way almost out to the sides. So when I have insulated the soap overnight, hoping to get that to go all the way out, it hasn't quite worked, so it would only go as far as that. So what that'll probably mean is that these end pieces here will be quite unique once they are cut and cured. But what a lovely golden color. It's so milky and yummy. I've got my bar cutter turned around the other way so that you can actually see what I'm doing. So when you have got lots of things on top, be it embeds or additives or anything like that, you want to make sure that it's not being cut from the top, because that will really increase your chances of having drag marks. So for that reason, I'm just going to turn it over to the side. Pop it on, slide it across. I'll just trim off the very end so that looks a bit neater. And you can see that lovely swirl inside. So these become my little test pieces. Fingers crossed we're not going to hit too much in the way of coffee beans. That's our first bar. Yummo. Oh, you stubborn bean. And this is why I wanted to add on more than just 3 beans, because I figured there was a chance we might actually lose some. So these bars are going to be quite a bit bigger than my usual bar size, because they have got the fluffy top, which meant that I had to increase my recipe quite a bit. I love that sound. It's an actual guitar string that's used in bar cutters for soaps. Isn't that funny? Just gorgeous. You can see how that drop swirl has turned out. Very, very pretty. So far at this stage, the smell is still very chocolatey. It's got that sort of milky note coming through, but that could also be from the raw, organic, unrefined shea butter that I use in my soap. Orange is one of my favorite colors, just in case you're wondering why I have opted to have the really, really garish soap cutter. You could have it painted in any color that you wanted, and I'm like, orange! Love orange. Yum. Only you could smell this, if only we had smell-o-vision. So we've lost a few beans. I had to sacrifice a few beans along the way. No problem, because the whole soap smells absolutely delicious. These beautiful coffee soaps are going to be part of my Valentine's Day collection, which I am tentatively aiming towards the end of January 2019. So if you haven't already followed me on social media, I encourage you to check me out. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. They're the main places that you will find me. And I hope to chat to you there. Okay, have a lovely day. Bye.